This is a demonstration of the repetitive production entry screen used by Macedon to record production. We have a screen called repetitive production entry, and in its simplest form it is going to ask for the item, the warehouse, the quantity, and you can have a comment or not have a comment. So let's go in and do a very simple with timesheet 12 into warehouse 01, and we will have part number 16020 into warehouse 1, and we will do 35 pieces, and then we will go to the next line in 14020 and we will do 55 pieces. And let's just say that's all the information, no comments are going to be in, and we could put remarks or not put remarks at the end of the screen. So if this is as many items as we had to go and enter in production, we would click the add button. It would say, are you sure? We would go ahead and say yes, and it would go ahead and post the production. We could go back in and bring that same production ticket back up again at 35, 55. We could also drill into the item to go see what really happened. So if we drill into the item, and let's drill directly to the finished part, and we can see its bill of materials there. If we went in and looked at the inventory posting list, we would see that the 35 pieces have got added into that part, and they came from a goods receipts from production number 216 for this part, for this case 35 pieces. If we went back and looked at the production order itself, we would see that we've already relieved these parts as well by 35 times 2, 4, and 1 in this case in terms of the base quantities. So the entry of the 16020 part has resulted in the components being relieved and also in the finished goods being increased on hand. We could, of course, go in and look at 14020 and see the exact same results. Let's use this same screen to go and enter another batch, only this time we want to capture the shift and the person that did the work. So let's go in and expose some more fields in here. We will go and expose the employee name, the shift, and the hours that were worked. So if we did that, and now we stretched out the screen just so we can see those fields, let's go and enter in a very similar kind of timesheet. Only this time we are going to enter in the same parts, 14020, and we will go 80 pieces, and we can look up our employees here if we want to, and we will just use Bob, and we can also look up the shift. In this case I got an afternoon and a day shift, and I will go ahead and post it. And now I'll say it took Bob 4 hours to make those 80 pieces. And I can do the same thing for a second part. And let's go ahead and post this information as well. Okay, with the information posted, we can now go back in and I've shown you how to go and look up the transactions and see what actually happened, but let's go look at a production by date report. We'll look from the 23rd, 22nd to the 23rd. And we can see 135 pieces and 75 pieces. We can also look at production by batch, and we'll look at the last couple batches just so we can see the differences between them. And here we can see the report, batch number 1 without any hours, and the second batch with the hours. And obviously we could go in and add employee information, we could add employee report, all of the information is in the system to be able to go and retrieve exactly what happened in terms of the hours. In our third example, we're going to look up a little bit more complex production entry. And we're going to do this with a steel rod that is a batch or lot controlled part. So let's look up within the bill of materials a part that has steel rod, and we can see that it's a manual bill of materials, which basically if we went and looked in the inventory item master, we would also see that it is a batch controlled part. So how does that affect the way we are entering in production? Obviously in production entry we need to know exactly which parts are not batch controlled and which ones are, and they have to be reported that way. So let's go in and do another batch entry, and in this case I'm going to go and add in the part -36. And I'll make 100 of those. And I'll use an employee. And a day shift. And 2.1 hours. Okay, now, if we tried to add this at this point in time, nothing essentially is going to happen because we need to go in and highlight this item, and it will show us down below on the bottom part of the screen that we need 35 pounds. Well, the factor was 35, so up in here we can now double click on the item itself, and we can figure out which lot that it is that we want to go in and use to go in and display and use up the 35 pounds. It defaults to the oldest one first, and in this case we've got lots of batches, and I'm going to let it take that batch from HT, the heat number 3200. We know we have 11,000 pounds on hand. We're going to use 35 pounds. So we will just go ahead and add that, and then we will click the add button on here. We will say yes. So it's very similar to the other transactions that we've done. Let's go now in and look at what really happened, however. And we will look at this part right in here, and then we will go in and rather than look at this obviously went up by the 100 pieces, but let's look at the batch control for this particular part right in here, and we'll go look at the batch number transactions, and we know that it went from heat treat down in here, and there are the 35 pounds that were relieved from a goods issued transaction, and it was done on a production order 220, which was 49160-36, and we see that exactly how it got relieved, and we also see the link back to the production entry screen. If you have the BOEM functionality added to SAP Business One, you also have the added ability to go and import production directly into the system. So for instance, here is a file, a CSV file, that has the part, quantity, the date, shift, employee ID, and the hours worked. If we wanted to go in and import that file, at this point we would go in and we would first close it, and we would click on the repetitive production entry, and there's now a import button here, and we would enter in the name of the file that we want to do, production import.csv, say yes, and click the OK button, and it would say 2 records have been updated. And at that point, if we went to the last record, we would see those 2 records that we just decided to import, and the reference is the name of the file that we just typed in, and it's a status of open, so we could at this point in time go ahead and make a change and click update, and it would go ahead and update the records in the system. As you have seen in this presentation, Mastodon has customized the entry of manufacturing production for repetitive plants. Our approach has been to develop screens and data entry means that eliminate the hassles of a work order-based system, while at the same time using the SAP Business One work orders to properly update inventory and maintain a detailed audit trail. Thank you for viewing this presentation. Please call or email me if you have any questions.